My name is Dr. Joyce Del Rosario. I'm the Executive Director of Faith Action Network. And whether it's your very first time learning about how to do advocacy or you're just here for a refresher because you've been doing it a while, we are glad that you're here. As we gather, we take a moment to remember that FAN is a multi-faith movement of individuals and communities from across Washington state. We are Buddhist, Christian, Jewish, Muslim, Quaker, Sikh, Unitarian Universalist, and people of conscience. We celebrate our spiritual diversity and the unique wisdom that each tradition and practice brings to our work for justice. We also acknowledge that we gather across our state on the lands of 29 federally recognized tribes and those still seeking recognition. We honor the peoples, both present and past, who have stewarded this land throughout the generations. I call your attention, I call to your attention our legislative priorities that enhance tribal sovereignty, indigenous rights, and care for the earth. And now I'd like to turn it over to our Central Washington organizer, Jess Ingman.
Thanks so much, Dr. Joyce, and good to be with you tonight. Jess Ingman, she, her, coming to you from Wenatchee. And I think Blake is going to pull up the slides for me for our agenda tonight. But we are really grateful for this time. The first thing is we're going to kind of ground ourselves in what is advocacy and why faith-centered advocacy is so important. Then we'll take some time to look at fan resources for the session. We will go through several different ways that you can advocate during the session. We'll have time to learn about the importance of our messaging and how we share our story in advocacy. We'll do some practice on commenting on a bill, and then we will recap and do next steps. And within this time, we will have a pause for questions after we get through halfway. But if questions come up as we go along, put them in the chat and we'll do our best to attend to it. But we are really grateful to have you tonight. We're trying some new things and appreciate your attention and feedback, and glad to have you with us.
Hey everyone, I'm Elizabeth Dickinson, Partnership Coordinator for FAN, mostly on the West Side. But I also convene the Indigenous, always get this wrong, the Interfaith Network for Indigenous Communities and the possibly emerging Environmental Work Group. So we thought we would start at the very beginning, and apologies to those for whom this is repeat. But just with what is advocacy? So we like to think of advocacy as democracy in action, defined as speaking up for or amplifying the power of a cause or a community. And we do this by influencing our political, economic, and social institutions, as well as sort of the cultural narrative that we have around us, around democracy and freedom and rights and the common good. So advocacy can involve communicating directly with elected or other leaders about policies, programs, and budgets. And that's mostly what we're going to be focusing on tonight. But also publicizing your perspective in media, planning or joining public actions, educating citizens about issues, enabling civic participation like involvement in elections, and engaging the arts to bring attention to an issue or to shift opinions. An example of that is that some of our faith communities have like red dress installations to bring attention to missing and murdered Indigenous women. And that's something that happens, that they do every year. Next slide, please. So Representative Pramila Jayapal has said that advocates create the space that makes it possible for legislators to do the right thing. And we do that here at FAN by introducing a moral anchor, a values anchor for an issue. When we advocate, we also often share our lived experience of the communities that legislators represent. So through our storytelling, we can help them learn more about what's going on in their communities. We offer stories that our leaders can share with colleagues, and we build ongoing relationships with respectful dialogue. So many ways that our advocacy makes a difference. Next, good. Yay, Blake. We also really believe that our faiths call us to advocate, that advocacy is a spiritual practice. It's a way of loving our neighbors and caring for the earth in a way that addresses systemic and root causes of problems. And for those of us at FAN, our advocacy is based on teachings that come from all of our sacred traditions to live out justice, compassion, hospitality, and earth care. Next. We have a new one-pager that is almost out that looks at advocacy as a spiritual practice from multiple faith traditions, quotes from multiple faith traditions. We are wanting to make sure that our board gets a chance to see it. We have a very multi-faith board. And so we're giving them a chance to look at it and see if it feels authentically right for their traditions. And then we will have it on the website for you to share with your faith communities. We try to ground our advocacy in values, as I said before, as well as in our mutual and accountable relationships. So one of the things that we have introduced this year is that in our legislative agenda, we have added kind of a rationale, a faith story, the basis of our values for those legislative bills that we are working on. So, for example, and we're going to be using an immigration bill throughout our time together tonight. So, so I wanted to lift the immigrant and refugee rights portion. Our rationale, our sort of basis for this work is that our diverse faith traditions emphasize that welcoming the stranger, offering hospitality, and loving our neighbor are sacred duties. And we believe that everyone who calls Washington home should be treated with dignity and respect, and that all residents should have access to the essential services they need, regardless of their immigration status. Next. We are also engaged in advocacy because it makes a difference. And just to lift up a few outcomes of your advocacy and our advocacy in 2025, we helped, along with our partners, win rent stabilization, the preservation of the safety net in many ways, including millions going to homeless services, senior nutrition, youth crisis support, and Apple Health coverage. We helped win the Recycling Reform Act, the expansion of health inspections and the oversight of private detention centers, and the expansion of laws requiring equal insurance coverage for mental and behavioral health services. These are all things that make such a huge difference in people's lives. And so we really want to celebrate the work that we do together. Next. And so that was your brief overview. And now on to maybe some more details, starting with Bree. Thank you.
Thanks, Elizabeth. You have such a calm voice. It was really great. My name's Brianna Diltz. I'm our Eastern Washington Regional Organizer, located in Spokane. And I'm going to walk you through the life of a bill. We've got our little bill hit here. If many of you remember Schoolhouse Rock, I'm just a bill on Capitol Hill. Um, the bill has to take a long path to become a law. And so here we have the kind of path that it takes. In the Washington State Legislature, which is where FAN does most of our advocacy and what we'll be focused on tonight, we have what we call bienniums. So the legislative cycle is in 2 years. In the odd numbered years, it's what they call the long session. It takes place from January to March or April. It's a little bit longer. And then the short session takes place from January 12th. It started this year and it'll run until March 12th. So it's 60 days. It's really short. That includes weekends. And so it's 60 days for a bill to take this whole path from being introduced by a legislator and then assigned to a committee, going through um, actual multiple committees. If it has any sort of monetary impact, it has to go to what they call a fiscal committee, the money committees, and then it has to go to rules. And it can be pulled from there to the floor, which is where all the legislators vote on it. When you think of Congress and everyone at their little desks with their little speakers, that's the floor. And so then they'll have floor debates and votes, and then it has to go through the same exact process in the opposite chamber. So if it starts in the House, it has to go to the Senate and go through all of that whole process. And then if it passes, the governor signs off on it. And Jess will take us through in just a second some of kind of the hoops called cutoffs that take place throughout those 60 days. But throughout the process, for us as advocates, there's plenty of, oh, back one more, please. There's plenty of time for us to advocate and use our voices. So when bills are in committees early in the session or when they're in the opposite House committee, we can sign on using pro and con, which we'll take you through and offer testimony. We can also contact the committees and the legislators on those committees. And then when it goes to a floor debate and a full vote of the House or Senate, we can contact all of our legislators, regardless of if they're on a committee. And then we can do the same thing when it goes to the other side. And then, if needed, we can contact the governor. He has plenty of legislative assistants and staff, even though it's, just one person in that office. There's a lot we as advocates can do. So next slide, and I'll pass it back to Jess to go over those cutoff dates.
Thanks, Bree. So another way of looking at what Bree was just talking about is a timeline for our short session here that we've created. You'll see that Interfaith Advocacy Day takes place right in the middle of our short session. It started on the 12th of January, the session, and then will continue until March 12th. In between there, and I don't make any promises on how exact these dates are in the ratio, but you'll see all of these other dates here that are cutoff dates. So February 4th is the policy committee cutoff. These are all moments where it's the last chance that these bills have to survive. They need to keep going. They need to keep moving. So February 4th and 9th, right before Interfaith Advocacy Day, there will be two important cutoffs, the Policy Committee cutoff day and Fiscal Committee cutoff day in those houses of origin. So whether it started in the House or started in the Senate. Then right after Interfaith Advocacy Day will be the House of Origin cutoff, where that bill needs to leave its home and go to the other, either to the House or the Senate and flip. And again, there will be on the 25th of February and March 2nd, the policy and committee cutoffs for the opposite chambers. And then March 6th get out of the opposite house. And all of this is, as this is feverishly happening, a lot of times there will be adjustments and changes in when and how we advocate, or there could be new opportunities that emerge given what happens to various legislation. So it makes it very interesting, and it also kind of compresses and creates some pressure for these bills to keep moving so that we can finish the session in 60 days. Next slide. So if you're like me, I look at that timeline and it's helpful, but it's just really hard for me to even track my own schedule and everything like that. So to add in a whole other state legislative session, um, we can do this together as part of FAN to advocate and to kind of follow along with one another. And there's some particular ways that we want to just overarching highlight tonight. The first one that I'll go into more detail pretty quickly is just signing up for our weekly e-news. And I'll share more details soon about what is in that weekly document, but that is the first step. And maybe if one of the staff could put the e-news link in the chat in case you don't have it already. Another way to advocate with FAN through the session is personalize an action network letter template. And we will be sending some of those out in relation to some of our bills and having it connect with timing and particular um, I guess, dynamics that are happening at the legislature and the news and things like that. Another way that you can advocate with us is to attend our pre-IFAD legislative workshops, and we will be sharing the exact dates and ways to register in the next week or so. We're trying to finalize them, but one exciting change this year is that we will be doing the majority of our workshops for Interfaith Advocacy Day ahead of time. So then you can go to as many workshops as you want instead of at IFAD where you had to really kind of pick and choose. We'll still have a panel on Interfaith Advocacy Day, but this allows you to virtually attend workshops on immigrant rights, on our climate justice legislation, on our carceral reform, all of those things. And then another easy way to advocate is, of course, join us for Interfaith Advocacy Day on the 12th in Olympia. And also, we want to highlight if you're in the Spokane area on January 31st, there's the Eastern Washington Legislative Conference that Bree and Kristen Ong, our policy engagement director, will be at. And then Yakima Advocacy Day on January 24th. And Kristen will also be at that as well. So those are some moments in time where you can join us and we can advocate together. Next slide. Okay. So I promised I'd go into a little more detail on our FAN e-news. And what I especially want to highlight is during this legislative session, usually on Fridays, you'll get a great legislative update of what happened this past week. Kristen does a great job of breaking it down, highlighting moments, especially when she or other members of our coalition testify and advocate for certain bills. Also in the e-news will be actual links that you can click on and sign in, usually pro, for particular pieces of legislation. So it's a way to just quickly click and be a part of getting our voice in as that bill is moving through. The e-news is where you'll get links for any of our Action Network templates that come up. The e-news is also where we highlight coalition partner updates and their invitations. And depending upon how the year goes, we also will try to highlight if there's town halls that you can access later in the session. But the e-news is the place to start, and we try to provide a lot of information there and curate that so that it's simple for you to get involved. Next slide. Okay, so I think this is the time where I am going to screen share now. And thank you. Just give me a moment here to get myself set up. as we, in addition to the e-news, there's two sources that are very helpful to rely on during this session. The first one I want to highlight is our website, fanwa.org. And we're continuing to update and work on it. But this is a great place where you can go and find resources for advocacy. So I'm at fanwa.org, and if you want to go to the advocacy section, you'll see there's a variety of pages. Take action page is where we'll put our action network templates. Um, our legislative agenda, I'll click on soon. That's where you can see all the bills that we're advocating for. We also have a bill tracker that will be updated once a week to show you where the legislation is at, so it's easier to follow. We'll be uploading issue fact sheets as well, that for the various pieces of legislation as we have them. We have a toolkit, and just a shout out, thanks to everyone who helped us with civic engagement and voting before, but that's also here. I'm going to come up to the legislative agenda page here, and on this page is where you can share and download our legislative agenda, but also you will see it here kind of fully spread out on the page. And one thing that I will just highlight as someone, especially if you're newer to advocacy, fans, one of our strengths is that we bring in a lot of different a lot of legislation that is intersectional and connects with core aspects. So our economic justice, defending and advancing immigrant and refugee rights, cultivating climate and environmental justice, and then reforming our carceral system, strengthening police accountability, and then fostering rights, belonging, and pluralism. It's a lot. And so it is also totally fine if you want to say, you know what, I'm just starting out this year. I'm going to focus on bills related to reforming our carceral system or strengthening police accountability, and just follow one or two bills during the session. But I just wanted to highlight that all of these pieces of legislation that are on our fans agenda are here on the website. So I mentioned there's two online resources. First one, we went to the fan website. The next one I'm going to take us to is the Washington State Legislature website. Is that other page coming through for people? I'm off of the fan website. Okay, great. Just wanted to make sure. So this is just ledge.wa.gov is an incredible resource. And I keep learning new things and getting new tips and tricks from this resource, but it's a great way to get involved and to take whether it's your first step or your 20 steps in. But with ledge.wa.gov, one of the most important first steps I would recommend is we want to learn who our legislators are, and we do that by finding our district. So I'm going to kind of walk us through that and highlight a few things. So I'm coming here, clicking on legislators, and then there is this additional tab to find your legislative district. So I'm going to click that and put in here the address of the Sunny Slope Church in my community, and we'll use that to see what legislative district the church is falling in. But here, the district finder is showing the legislators, so our senator, as well as the two representatives for this district. You'll note this is also a great place where you can see your U.S. congressional representative and also our Washington state senators here. But for tonight, we're going to focus on these folks right here. And so I've identified, I live in the the Sunny Slope Church is in the 12th district, and I'm going to click on Keith Gaynor, who is the senator. And on this page, you'll get to see some of their basic contact information in Olympia, as well as their legislative assistants, and ways to kind of email them. But one of the other core parts that we want to be looking at is kind of knowing our audience. And our legislators serve on various different committees. Some of the committees uh, are quite powerful and make decisions about our budget or finances. But below here, you can see the various committees that legislator serves on. Usually maybe the more, I could be wrong on this, but the ones on the top, I especially pay attention to. Sometimes the smaller committees get less of my interest. That could be right or wrong. But you also can see the voting records. How have they voted? And also, what bills are they sponsoring? That shows us what are they valuing? What are they spending their time on? And that's really important as we think about what we're bringing and what we're going to be advocating for. Another thing that I'll highlight as we kind of get to know our legislators is that on this page will also be a way for you to click to their website as well. And I would really recommend this is also a great place to learn about the legislator themselves, how they are promoting themselves, what they're focusing on. And this, usually on this page right here, you see subscribe to my newsletter. And I like to subscribe to the newsletters for my senator and representatives so that I can hear maybe from them when there's going to be town halls, but also how are they framing issues that I care about? All of that I'm taking in as information as I think about my advocacy and the story that I'm going to be bringing. So did not intend to spend so much time on Keith Gaynor's page. But again, the kind of come back here, I just took us one way through District Finder to find that information and our contact, but also just want to highlight, you can you can do searches for bills. You can search directly in the committees. There's just so much to find here on this page. But I think I covered my pieces. I'm going to stop sharing here. Great. And I'm going to hand it to Blake.
Thanks, Jess. Next up, to explore the page a little further, I'm going to share about signing in pro and con to a particular bill, and Elizabeth is going to walk you through commenting on it. So here you can see the page that Jess just brought up. And we're going to look at House Bill 2105, which we mentioned earlier. So you'll search that in the number. And from my experience, as long as the number is correct, it will get you to the correct bill, whether it's a House bill or a Senate bill. So here, you'll see a lot of great information for you to know about and really helps you know what bills are really well supported already and need even more advocacy, or bills that are still looking for sponsors, which makes your voice even more valuable in that situation too. So you'll see the bill status, kind of where it's at, like we talked about, the different stages. But most importantly, you'll want to make sure you know how to sign up to give input. So you click that sign up to testify button. And then you look for your agenda item, make sure it's properly selected. So that's 2105 immigrant workers. And then you say, I would like my position noted for a legislative record. And in here, every week, we'll give you bills to sign in pro on. And then you can select your position, your first and last name, your email. And then for the organization, you'll want to leave that blank unless we specifically ask you to testify. But you're welcome to do so if you have an organization you're signing on the behalf of. I give that example because people have used fans' name on bills that we did not sign off on. So we want to be really conscientious about who is signing in with our organization. So we'll keep you updated on that as we update our policies around that. And then, of course, you'll list your address, city, state, and zip, and then sign your information, say I'm not a robot, and then click submit. Um, that's how you sign in pro for a bill. And once again, you'll get that opportunity every single week on Fridays. And we'll have this all hyperlinked, so you will know exactly where to go. But this gives you an opportunity to look for this in other places. So I'm going to turn over to Elizabeth now and allow her to explain the commenting on a bill.
As soon as I can unmute. Yes, so we're going to do this tricky thing where I try to explain and Blake tries to model. So we'll see how that goes. But I'm just, could we just go back to the sign up to testify part where you were just, Blake? So signing in is a great thing if you're a new advocate, a beginning advocate. If there is a bill that you know a lot about, that you know it's a food security bill, and you have a community bill at your faith community every week or something like that, you can also choose to submit written testimony, and that gives you a chance to let the committee know about a story that you might have, or feelings that and information that you might have that are not going to be reflected in just signing in pro or con. So it was there. I wanted to let you know about that. That's an option. So now let's go back, Blake, to the submitting a comment part. So we're back where the bills, well, we're not quite yet, but we will be. There we are. So, signing in and testifying are things that happen at the stage where a bill is in committee. But there is another advocacy strategy, which is to share a comment with and that goes to your own lawmakers. So this can be really impactful when the legislature gets closer to floor votes and you want to make sure that your legislator is voting the way you want, or at least knows what you would like. But it can happen even before that. So even if your legislator is not on a committee and they get a comment from you, it can still be really valuable, because if they get a series of comments, even if they're not on the committee, they can talk with their colleagues who are, and just let them know that they're hearing a lot from their constituents. Commenting on a bill is also really impactful because you've taken time to write a few personal sentences. So in that sense, it's like the testifying, the written testimony. So if you're thinking about writing a comment and you're a little bit at a loss, you can always contact fan staff to help with talking points, or you can consult the fact sheets that are going to be on our website. So you are ahead of me, Blake, I think, but you would start on the homepage. We've already done that. Type in the bill that you want. We've done that, and the send it. So here's the form that you end up with that you want to fill out. And if you just go down, you can see that there's space to write a comment. So that could be something like, I strongly support this bill. As you know, immigrants are under attack in this country. Even if they are here for asylum or have been peaceful contributing members of our neighborhoods for decades, our state needs to take additional steps to protect immigrants at their workplaces. So just like 3 sentences and then a request. Please vote for, or please talk to your colleagues about this, or thank you for your sponsorship of this bill. If your faith community is involved in something, this is a great place to mention that. And then I think you go down to the bottom and you hit submit. So you, at least I didn't check this year, but last year you, oh, that was the testifying. So a comment at any point around a bill. And that's how you comment on a bill. And I think then we're just mentioning, going back to the PowerPoint, mentioning quickly two other ways of advocating. We have to catch up with our PowerPoint. So we've just done that one. And then there is calling the legislative hotline. If you like to talk to people on the phone rather than playing with your computer, this is a great way of advocating. You can leave a brief message from for your state district legislators. One message you can convey to all three of them at once, and even copy the governor. There are interpreter services for many different languages. Hotline staff are also available to fulfill requests for bills and other legislative documents, and just answer questions about the process. The hotline is open 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. Monday through Friday during legislative session. Another really great way to advocate. And then we move finally to the Action Network letters, which Jess really talked about. Just keep an eye out for our links to letters that staff have written that you can then personalize. All right, that's it for the multiple advocacy strategies. And back to Jess.
Thanks, Elizabeth. I just wanted to highlight another resource. In addition to FAN staff, the Legislative Information Center is there for us as well. In addition to the hotline, these are people who very friendly in the photo and they're friendly in person. They're trying to make the legislature more accessible by providing information and documents and assistance. And so if you go to leg.wa.gov/help, you'll be able to connect with them. And also there are some classes and tutorials and videos you can watch as well if there is a particular area that you want to learn more about. But we also just wanted to highlight that not only do we have a great website for our state legislature, we also have a group of people who are ready to help us if we need support navigating it. Next slide. So we just shared a lot of information and wanted to open it up to see if people had questions. Just take some time to let us know if there's a part that you'd like us to. Yeah, Laura.
Hey, well, I wanted to say one thing. Having seen it all really fast, if you haven't seen it before, it's actually kind of intuitive. So it's really helpful, like you did, just to go over it so that when you see it, you can kind of figure it out by just reading what's there. I have a question about the personalized fan network letter templates to personalize them. How much change? I mean, I sometimes do it really fast and just switch a few words around. Are they going to see through that, or do we really need to kind of make major changes maybe in just the first paragraph? Does anyone have any idea?
So my strategy is usually to change the first sentence.
Just the first sentence?
So maybe a couple other things too, or
okay.
But often, just like making some kind of a personal reference so that they know that I might have a story, that I might, that I have experience in something.
Okay.
That's I don't know. I actually have never gotten to intern in an office, in a legislative office. So I don't know how they read that, um,
Hmm.
but maybe even like the first paragraph, the first sentence of the first two paragraphs, if you're feeling really diligent.
Yeah. I just know that they say that one of the least effective things is just to sign something that they're getting in mass. But then the
Right.
most effective thing is one of the things is to, really send a personal letter. So it seems like it's pretty important to make this really sound like it's coming from
So I
somebody
think
different. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, the other strategy I would suggest is that you can take, a couple paragraphs from that letter, play with them, and send them in as a comment instead.
Oh. Hmm.
So it looks, yeah, so it has less of a mass-produced feel.
Another part to remember is because we're Faith Action Network, is we can speak from our faith traditions, right? So we can also say my faith tradition, believes in compassion for immigrants. And so that's a way to really kind of personalize it and then also underline um, the perspective that we're coming from.
And we've gotten this question quite a bit, or at least I have in different things, and people ask it about the federal level too. And from my understanding, even if it is like a mass, if they're getting the same thing, if people don't have the time to personalize it, they do still tally like the number of comments or something that they get about a particular bill for or against. So it does make some difference, but if you are able to take the time to personalize it, I think it does make a little bit more of a difference, and they might be more likely to read it and go, "Oh, this is different." And I've been surprised to get return calls from one of the offices in my district to a letter that I sent in that was made with a template. So I don't know about all legislators, but at least Senator Riccelli's office is reading them. Martha, I saw you had a question.
Yeah, I think you said that when we sign in pro, we should perhaps use our own faith community rather than fan down on the bottom part of that thing where we sign in. Is that correct? Or do you want us to use fan?
We would suggest leaving it blank unless, like, you've
Oh,
specifically, for instance, like this week we helped coordinate a panel of testimony. So, like, those people, for instance, could potentially use FAN. Putting your own faith community, I think, is up to you if your faith community would feel that that's appropriate, if they would feel on board on the bill.
okay.
And how, formal or informal their kind of structure is of approvals, because it does go into the legislative record, and people do look at the people who sign pro and con. So it's kind of a call of if you feel that you're representing your faith community, and kind of a personal call that, at least for your individual faith community, we can't make that call for you. But we do request that folks leave it blank
Okay.
for the ban bills.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's confusing. Any other questions from folks?
And just maybe add one more comment to say really also if you feel strongly about fans multi-faith work, it's a really good introductory point, and a lot of times catches at least the legislators I've talked to off guard in a good way. And so that can help them lend you their ear a little bit. So that's another strategy I've used that's been effective.
Go ahead, Sandy.
Just a quick question. Would you repeat that path that you took to make a comment on a bill that automatically goes out to all my representatives?
Yeah, we can do that. Let's see. Blake, do you want to re-screen share, or I can screen share and take us through that since I think I'm up next?
That'd be great, Bree. Thanks.
Okay.
you go at it by picking the bill, apparently first, and then
Yes.
you identify yourself, your district, and then you say whatever you're going to say, and it automatically figures out from there to take my comment and send it to each one of my representatives. Is that the correct path?
Yes, I believe so. I'll show again just in case.
Okay.
And I'm silly and I'm not remembering the number, so I'm going to do a different one. What is it, Elizabeth?
2105.
2105. Okay. There we go.
I think that's great to get this. I think it gives you a chance to figure out which of your three you want it to go to. Sometimes, for example, with this one, Saldana, who is mine, Senator Saldana, is actually a sponsor of the Senate version. So I might say something different to her than I would say to my two representatives in
Yeah,
this.
that's a good point.
But so sending a
So
comment.
we would have actually had to like run it through.
I think I see the part that I was interested in. Send a comment to your legislators. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Any other questions from folks? I'm going to leave my screen up just for a second in case there's no questions. Go ahead, Daniel.
Thank you. I do have a follow-up question on that note, which is that, yeah, as kind of a newcomer to advocacy work, I do understand that various of these people that I'll have the opportunity to do advocacy to will have like other investments that I may not be aware of in terms of, yeah, like so per I sorry, forgot what your Sandy's last comments. Like, is there a convenient place for just like seeing what, like, is that just like clicking on their page and then that will like show me like all the things that they're sponsoring? Just in terms of, yeah, getting that, like, if I don't have the context for what um other bills or motions they might be already have their weight behind, that would help me to know how best to like address them. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. Elizabeth, I see you're going to say something.
Yeah, I was going to say, since we're playing with a website, if we could go back and just, I think this is helpful.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so if we go to the bills, meetings, and sessions section, you can also go to bills and see there's this place that says more ways to find bills and initiatives. If you can click on that, you can find bills by sponsor. So if you're really interested in like Dolio, or well, let's do and it does then you can, I think this is the house, so you can see all of the bills that they're sponsoring. That should give you a pretty good picture.
Wow.
You can also see all the ones that they're co-sponsoring. So that would be the secondary bills. So that also gives you a really good sense of just their general take, their general Dolio is busy. But does that help to
Very much so.
Yeah. Okay, great.
Thank you.
Yeah, and you can also get to it with the legislative website. There's a lot of ways to get to things, but I believe you can also get to it from their page, which is if you do the district finder and you click on their name, it would take you to this page, and then you can go to bill sponsorship. And then it takes you to the page we were just on, but pulls up him directly, and it looks like you can search it.
Yeah.
Just kidding. But you can export it and do all sorts of fun things with it.
It's really a great website.
It is. And they've updated it to make the committee sign-on piece a lot more accessible. That was something we had to, I think, hunt for the last couple sessions.
Awesome. Thank you. That's helpful.
No problem. Any other questions from folks? I think, actually, how are we on time, team?
6:51.
Okay. I think that's okay within our timeline.
Yeah,
Okay,
we're just fine.
cool. I'm kind of scrolling through. I'm not seeing um, any more questions, so I'll go back to or oh yeah, Laura.
Yeah, I've had a question a little bit about some of these in between committees, like rules, ways and means, the ones that, they seem to have more power, or yeah, I just don't feel like I know completely about how much power they have over. So after a bill has been in the committee and people the committee comes up with a final product, then people on rules who don't know anything about the bill just decide whether it's going to go to the floor or not. Is that how it works? Hmm.
Rules is a tricky one for me to understand. Elizabeth, I don't know if you're familiar, or Kristen, if you have
Sure. Yes,
Yeah,
cool.
those are very
Kristen.
powerful committees. The money, I call them the money. And if your bill has a high fiscal note or any type of fiscal note, it has a sometimes a very risky chance of not passing. Um, sometimes agencies who don't like your bill can be other, but then they can raise the price of what's the fiscal note on your bill, and that's one way to also signal they don't like it. Um, so if it in order for you to pass a bill and it has, it usually costs money to implement, uh, eh, Ways and Means and Appropriations can decide we're not even going to take this up. It costs too much money. But let's say they do pass it. It passed the committee of origin, whether that's health, public safety, environment. It goes through one of the money committees. And then it goes to rules. Rules is made up from committee members. Usually, the first member of that is the Speaker of the House for for the House of Representatives, and then the Senate. And the one who runs the Senate is actually Lieutenant Governor Heck runs the rules committees for the Senate. Uh, and there are people that decide whether they want to champion this, but really, it's all about how many bills if you have a clock. I call it the shot clock. Let's say basketball. You only have so much time and so many bills, and you're going to have to wonder how people are going to run that time if they don't like a bill. If the other side wants to run that clock shot down, then your other bills won't get through. And then you have to decide whether you have enough votes amongst even your own caucus, let's say the Democratic caucus, really, because they're a majority, that it'll go through. Will it make you all look bad if a couple of them does some speech on the floor? So it's deciding about the priorities of the bills, because a lot of the times, if they could, they would have voted all of these in, let's say, but they only have so much time. And you do have to have really strong sponsors, and really strong advocacy, and then also the leadership. They call it leadership, which includes, of course, the Speaker of the House and the Senate Majority Leader, and a few other people. And they're really deciding the agenda of how the shot clock will run and what bills. And then do want to control those things. You can advocate those members, the Rules Committee, or at least leadership, that this is a priority and also support your legislator that is championing these things. But that's why things die in rules or bills die in rules. A lot of it's a lot of gatekeeping. It's the gatekeeper basically. The money gate, the funding, the money gatekeeper, and then the ultimate whether you even get a floor vote gatekeeper. And sometimes I call it like the Hunger Games. Sorry, you just did not make it this round.
Thank you, Kristen. I was going to say I learned something new. The rules committee has truly kind of confused me. I'm like, they just get pulled out of rules. But I've worked here for 3 years, so you can learn something new even if you've been an advocate for a while. So um, I'm so glad we have Kristen here to give us kind of the
And they
insights.
say the rounds is like, maybe if you added this, if you did this, we would pull it or do things to it. So they consider it. Okay, we consider like you're convincing your own people. And every speaker Everybody who's run that shot clock does not want a bill to go on the floor, waste time, and not have it pass. So they want to make
Mm,
sure that if they put something for the floor and use up time, that it is going to pass and not take up
okay.
as much time so that there is room for the other bills that's also priority.
Okay. Nice.
Which is even more important in a short session. Um, I'm gonna go back to screen share. Um, and we have a little bit more, and then I think if we have time at the end, we can probably do some more questions. But we still have a few more things to go through. So I will pass it to Blake again.
Thanks, Brianna. So we'll start with this quote here. Experts can be hired, real people with real stories cannot. So your stories, like I said earlier, are so crucial. The narratives that we talk with our legislators about and with our communities, they're essential. And so your story truly matters and makes a unique talk with your legislature. So when you're thinking about your story, there's a few pieces you want to be involved in developing it. So who are you? So are you constituent, parent, grandparent, person of faith, a teacher, community organizer? What does that matter to you, and how does it relate to them? And how does this lead you to care for this issue? What's your why? And then what issue are you concerned about and why? A statistic or two could be helpful to demonstrate a scope of an issue, but a story is much more personable and memorable. So the way I put it in short form is I work with youth students in several different career aspects. And what's been said to me is youth students can eyeball fake. And so it's more important that you say something short and genuine than reading out a longer prepared thing. So that just takes the pressure off you to be yourself and as you're developing your story. So what is the solution, right? So briefly describe your policy or budget solution. How will this address the issue described above? And then you end with a call to action. So we're not just saying, oh, I hope you think about this. Saying, no, we want a definitive vote. We want this to make the floor. We want this to make it out of Rules Committee this year. So vote yes, bring to a vote, etc. Whatever that looks like. You want to make sure you have a clear action stated at the end. So next slide. So just a reminder, as we talk about developing our stories, speak from your emotion, the heart, your values, talking about those multi-faith pieces or other community experiences you're bringing or identities you're bringing with you. And then story basics. So every story has a beginning, middle, and end. And overcoming a challenge is a classic storyline. So to say, such and such worked for this in my state. So when we offered more SNAP benefits, my neighbor was able to keep their head above water with their rent. And they are a contributing member to our neighborhood, and we really value them being here. So thank you for your advocacy on such and such. So that's just a sample of kind of a quick story of a beginning, middle, and end with some more details filled in as needed. So we're going to give you some time to practice developing your story. And I'm going to pass it over to Bree.
Got ahead of myself. So we're going to use our example, House Bill 2105, which is the Immigrant Worker Protection Act. And this bill, we have some talking points here that we can use, but this bill is important because it requires employers to notify employees when this is just background for you all, when U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement plans to conduct inspections or audits in the workplace so workers are not caught off guard and can better protect their rights. Workers deserve the same access to information that employers get, and receiving adequate notice allows workers the opportunity to prepare and consult with legal counsel. And so these are some talking points. We're going to give you like 5 or so minutes to write, to use that comment thing you learned of going to the bills page and writing a comment to your legislators about the bill, and writing just a few short sentences about why it's important to you. And these can help you build your comment. I see something. Okay, cool. Chat. So it gives workers the same information as their employers, prevents ICE from disrupting families and communities. I think there's a lot of great stories we can also share from our faith about protecting immigrants and welcoming immigrants. And so I'll keep this up and then we'll play like 5 minutes or so of music to kind of give you a second to write something. If you get all the way through, great. If you're not able to, we hope you come back to it later and are able to send that to your legislators. So we'll just have some kind of chill music. If you're not feeling it, you can just close your eyes and relax too. But we do hope that you kind of practice what you learn. That's part of the process of learning. And feel free to go off camera if you are like me and have a hard time writing while being on camera.
One of the things I just noticed is that this bill does have quite a few co-sponsors. So if you're writing, if you happen to know who your legislators are, you can check to see if they're co-sponsoring. Then you can write a really easy comment, which is thank you for co-sponsoring this bill. And this is why it's important to me.
to come back on screen when you're ready. Our training is the end, but we still have a little bit left, and we'll have time for questions. If you had any questions on this or need any help, should have put that in the chat, or said it before that you can ask for help in the chat. But hope that that was easy and a good kind of introduction into sending a comment or an email to your legislators. And I think we have just a couple more reminders and updates that Blake will share. Oh,
So thanks so much for being here, making time in your busy schedules and in our turbulent world to center with us for advocacy. So we really want to make sure you stay engaged with us after this time, and we warmly invite you to attend our workshops on legislation the weeks of January 26th through February 5th. The first one is the Criminal Justice Reform Police Accountability on January 28th, and I'm the person to contact about that. So if you have any questions, please email the FAN office or me directly. So I hope you can make that and our other awesome ones for all our issue areas. And of course, sign up for our fans weekly e-news. This is the best way, as it's been said, to get updated with everything going on in a fast-paced session and stay connected with one another. Also, you can personalize fans Action Network letter templates that you'll be seeing. So with your own messages, but with some assistance from us on some of the policy angles. And finally, please make sure you attend FAN's Interfaith Advocacy Day. We will have even more space, so bring your friends, bring your other neighborhood advocates, community advocates with you. So we're looking to grow and expand this year. And then also consider joining the Eastern Washington Legislative Conference on the 31st this month in Spokane, and then Yakima Advocacy Day on the 24th. So we really hope we can see you at one of those events and connect.